Hello, Paul here, I'm the lead practitioner of the Valley Steps. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, I'm Bethan. I'm one of the practitioners of Valley Steps. So we are doing a little bit of a question and answer about exercise today. So we talk about exercise on a few of our sessions, our online workshops. We talk about the benefits of exercise in terms of our well-being. Myself and Paul regularly exercise. We enjoy exercise and we get a lot out of it. So we thought we'd do a little bit of a Q&A.
Okay, so that's a good question actually. How often do I exercise? Well, I try to exercise 3 times a week. That's usually, I usually have a day in between or 1 or 2 days, depending on the session I do. So I'll try and get to the gym 3 times a week, but also in between, I'll try and go for a little run now and again. I would like to kind of run more often, but I do tend to have a kind of, a rota schedule, I suppose, really for my exercise, and I try to aim for 3 times a week. And I think that's particularly important for me because it gives you that kind of structure, routine, and it gives you something. I suppose really it gives you a little bit of a goal, it's a motivator in itself. So when I don't go, then I think, oh, right, okay, I've got to try and fit in another session. But I generally aim for 3 sessions a week, an hour and a quarter each session.
I'm probably a bit more hard for me. I aim for 6 days a week of exercise. I have 1 rest day. So I usually do 2 or 3 days in the gym, not days, not full days, obviously. I haven't got that sort of time in my life, but I usually do 2 or 3 sessions in the gym, and then usually 2 outdoor runs, and then I'll do some walks in the week as well. So there might be some days where I kind of do like a run in the morning, and then I will walk in the evening as well. So I kind of double up, but it's 6 days a week I try to get some exercise.
Oh, well done.
One rest.
Well, I think that's, I suppose, yeah, I didn't add in the walking because I think I probably take walking for granted as a form of exercise. It is very important as a form of exercise. So yeah, I did 14,000 steps, yes, which I'm quite proud. You know, if I do 14,000 steps a day, for me, that's hitting, you know, it's going way above the target of 10,000. So yeah, walking, and I would like to do more outdoor kind of work, to be honest, more outdoor exercise, getting out and about. I think we're enjoying, at this particular moment, we're enjoying some nice weather, quite unseasonal weather for September. So I think you've got to make the most of this, having you get out and walk. Because I think, you know, because of the current lockdown restrictions, you've got to make the most of everything. Anytime it is sunny, I'm going to go. But I do like going to the gym. I think I find that very therapeutic, but of course, I wish I could do more outdoor work. So I hope that's answered that question. So what kind of exercise do I enjoy? That's another good question because I'm a little bit kind of mixed on it, and I'll explain to you why. So when we couldn't go to the gyms during lockdown, I started doing running, and at first I found it really difficult to kind of, because I wasn't used to running, and I didn't enjoy that much, to be honest with you. However, the more I did it, the more I started to enjoy it. The more I could see, you know, a kind of a 10-minute run turned then a half an hour run. And so like I was doing about 3 miles each run, which for me, being a kind of gym person, is a huge achievement. It's a massive accomplishment. So I do enjoy going out for a run. I don't do as much as I should do. The other exercise I enjoy riding my bike. I've got a mountain bike. Love riding the bike. As soon as I get on my mountain bike, I turn into a kind of young kid and start pulling wheelies and jumping and stuff. All these kind of memories flood back to me when I was younger, having a bike. I particularly love riding a bike. I do like weight training, going to the gym. I find as I'm getting older, strength is particularly important because you start losing kind of muscle mass and strength. So it's important, I think, to keep that. And also, it's good for your bones. There's loads of I've read a study that lifting weights is very good for anxiety and low mood, and also it's very good. You know, there's a physical and mental benefit to it. But the bike in the gym, I like. Cross training is very good. As I say, going on bike, particularly like, I think my favorite exercise of all is basically walking the hills, walking up mountains. I love it. I could easily spend hours. I could spend days going out walking. If I had, what I did last year before lockdown, I had a rucksack, I had a tent, I had a sleeping bag all ready to go off hiking. I'd spend a long time up in the mountains walking, go out in the day, go off. I'd get up to, say, the beacons about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd start heading back about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'd spend a good 6 to 7 hours out walking. I think that, I do it as much as I see running as a kind of a chore sometimes. After I've done a good run, it's like when everything, do you know when you're kind of like in that flow state, when the run just happens and there's no kind of effect, it's effortless. That's when I come back after a run, I think, do you know what? You get a real boost of just feel really well, feel really good about yourself. And you kind of like your well-being. It's like it goes up here, you kind of climb high and feel, wow, that feels really good.
I'm very cardio based. Me, I don't, we've talked about this before. And I'm a runner predominantly, and that's what I enjoy most. In the gym, I will do any other sort of cardio. Like I use the stair climber or the stairmaster quite a lot. I use the bike, or I go to spin sometimes, like spin classes. I struggle with weights. I tend to use weights or kind of like strength or resistance work just to be able to run better, just to protect my joints and things like that, and just to strengthen my joints to be able to run. I don't really enjoy it as much, but there is a kind of sense of achievement you get from, lifting a heavier weight or, being able to do a certain lift that you haven't before. There is like a sense of achievement there. I think there's something quite nice about feeling strong as well. Like there's a sort of confidence there that you get from being stronger, like physically, but I don't really enjoy weights. And I think when lockdown happened and we couldn't go to the gym, I went back to just running all the time. And then now since the gym has been reopened, I'm still avoiding the weights. I'm still just doing all the cardio. So I think I probably need to get back to doing some more kind of strength work, or even just body weight work, can be good. Even just doing it without the weights is probably good for me to get into. I quite like high intensity interval training, like the HIIT stuff. I like high intensity exercise generally, so I quite like it if I'm like really out of breath and like pouring with sweat. I quite like that. Not that I like being sweaty, but I like it makes me feel like I've done a lot. It makes me feel like I've kind of achieved a lot. But I do really like walking. I think walking, like I say, is one that I think a lot of people neglect, but I think is really good exercise, and for most people is easier to sustain, for longer periods of time. So I walk quite a lot with my dad, and that's quite nice then, because we might go for like an hour and a half or 2 hours in the evening or on the weekend, and you have a good little catch up, and you're talking about your life and current affairs and things like that, and it doesn't feel like you're walking then. It doesn't feel like you're doing any exercise, because you're just chatting and you're just kind of passing the time, really. And there are some really nice walks where we live, to be fair. Like we are both RCT based, aren't we? So there's so many walks near us that are just lovely, that we can appreciate. And I think being outside to exercise is nice, that kind of like connecting with nature. And that's one thing I quite like in the summer, because in the winter I tend to do most of my running on the treadmill in the gym, because it's cold and it's dark and I don't want to be outside. But in the summer then it's quite nice, because I do most of it outdoors, so I kind of switch a little bit. And it is something quite nice about being outside, being in nature, breathing in like fresh air. So yeah, really I'm cardio based. I do weights for cardio, really. I do weights just to help my running.
Okay, so how do I motivate myself? Well, I think one of the things, I set myself goals based on what I wanted to achieve from going to the gym, and I think it was based upon a value-based system. What do I value? I value being healthy. I value being fit. I'm not super fit, but I think the one thing I value is regular exercise and being healthy. And of course, that health is not just physical health, it's mental health. I think, I'm a big believer in the mind-body connection. going back to my values, they were obviously trying to keep yourself as healthy and fit as possible. And as I'm getting older, I'm noticing, obviously, I'm kind of experiencing bodily changes. So for me, when I was younger, when I used to go to the gym before, it was all about possibly looking good. You know what I mean? Having a kind of image. But now it's about feeling good and feeling good within yourself and knowing that what you're doing is really benefiting you and it's benefiting other people as well. I think one of the things I remember a couple of years ago when I didn't exercise so much, I put on a bit of weight. One of the things I noticed, my flexibility was affected. You know, I had back pain, and that was because I was carrying weight around my midriff, you know. So that's what motivates me, right? To keep my weight down, yeah. My mental health. I'm a big believer in exercise and the benefits of it, and it's about this staying, being active, motion, no motion, and you know what I mean. Emotion, you see, emotion. So you kind of like, and what I think also the benefits is, I think it's the endorphins, serotonin, the dopamine, all that gets released in exercising. Also, it gets rid of all the frustration. You know, you start thinking positively. And I'm going to go back to this thing again. It's the accomplishment, the achievement of knowing that instead of sitting down in front of the television with a bar of chocolate, crisps, and watching that, you can do that if you want to, by all means. But what I tend to do is this: I'll go to the gym first and say, well, look, if I'm gonna have a kind of like a binge on Netflix, let's go and do some exercise first, and then say like 2 days later. So the benefits from you, I think another thing is confidence as well. It builds confidence. I think what we talked earlier on about the strength, you know, look, I feel stronger, I feel better about myself, feel much more confident about. And one of the things I notice is that on our courses, we talk about the symptoms of stress being raised heart rate. A lot of people, when their heart rate raises, they start to panic. Yeah. Now, if you start to gradually condition yourself to kind of, how can I say, to accept your raised heart rate, to live it, to reconcile it, you start to develop confidence. Say, look, do you know what? When I'm on a treadmill, running at sort of like 10 miles an hour, my heart rate's raised, and I'm okay. Nothing bad happens. It kind of goes back down again. I recover, yeah, and it's fine. And it kind of, I think it develops this sense of confidence to say, well, look, do you know what? When my heart rate does increase, I know it's okay, and I can manage it and cope with it. My daughter's 13 years of age. It's this idea that I'm going to be more active around her and do lots of things with her, yeah. And she'll kind of see that, and it's a positive influence on her. I become a role model for her then, and she says, oh, well, look, he goes to the gym, I'm going to do the same, I want to be more active. This is what I can see kind of like benefits from it. So there's possibly lots more I've missed, but for me, the benefits are, I think, for my well-being, the full well-being. And I think the last thing as well, it does give you a kind of routine structure as well. That routine that you know, do you know what? And if you don't go, you think, come on, let's get back on the horse, let's get down there. It does give you, it motivates, it drives you to, you know. And the last thing, it's not about kind of like the goals. I think it's about what you value and how you feel, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think having the sort of values-filled goals is helpful in terms of kind of not just kind of, you know, I would like to run a faster 5K or something like that, but having a longer-term goal of wanting to generally be healthier or fitter or something like that. The kind of value of, you know, how you want to live essentially in terms of how you look after your body, how you look after your mind. And I think that's a huge motivator. And I think, you know, going back to what you were saying earlier, I will wake up some mornings and think to myself, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go to run. I really don't want to. But, you know, I try and say to myself, but you know what? Let's just go for just half an hour. Even if all we do is half hour and it's really easy and we don't really push far, at least we'll have done something, you know. And I think to myself, that's better than me not doing anything. So some mornings like that, I'll just get out of bed and just go for a half hour really easy jog. and I might barely be out of breath, but at least I've gone, you know, at least I've still done it. I think you're right. I think the benefits almost kind of motivate you then when you sort of get into when it becomes more of a habit and you kind of regularly exercising, it's the benefits that tend to motivate you then. Like, I know I feel better when I've exercised, you know, I generally feel more positive. I generally, you know, have a better mood, you know, I feel better in terms of my well-being. And you kind of get that when you're sort of regularly doing it, and that sort of motivates you then, because those mornings where you think, oh, I really don't want them today, you think, yeah, but I know I'll feel better afterwards. I know my mood will be good for the rest of the day, and I know I'll feel more productive, and I'll have that kind of dopamine hit or those endorphins, you know, it kind of motivates you to go then. It's kind of like that short-term pain, long-term gain kind of thing, isn't it? For me, sometimes exercise is that time out of my day where I'm doing something just for me. You know, like obviously most of us are working, so that means that largely what you're doing a lot is work for other people, essentially. You know, you might have caring responsibilities, kind of responsibilities socially. Sometimes life can feel a bit like you're constantly doing things for other people. And for me, exercise is that time where I'm focusing on myself. I'm doing something that I want to do that's just for me. And that's my time. You know, it's that kind of almost like that self-care or that me time in the week, you know? Yeah, I think it's about starting slow as well, isn't it? Like, you know, you see, in terms of motivation, you see quite a lot of people joining gyms and things in January, you know, because it's like the New Year's resolution and, you know, they're going to get fit. And what you sometimes see then is people kind of go into the gym like literally every day, you know, for 2 weeks. And then their body is so tired and so sore, they don't enjoy it. And they think, oh, I can't do this. I can't sustain this over a long period of time. Now, you know, I said earlier on, I exercise 6 days a week, but that's not at all where I started, you know, like, I remember when I sort of really first got into exercise properly, I did some running in school, but it was really when I sort of left university that I sort of really committed to regularly doing it. And I think the first few months was very much like I'd go out for a run, but it would be, you know, like a minute of jogging, a minute of walking, a minute of jogging, a minute of walking. I'd never be out for more than 20 minutes at a time. And it naturally builds up, you know, over time. It just keeps getting easier. So you just go longer or you go faster. And so nobody starts with kind of running, you know, 10 miles or just like that, or, you know, lifting the heaviest weight possible, just like that. You know, it takes time. And I think sometimes when we kind of want to start exercise, we need to kind of take it a step at a time, because I think you can lose a lot of motivation if you try and go all in too far, you know, and too early. Difficulty is obviously neither me nor Paul are like personal trainers or you know, in any way sort of qualified to give advice in terms of kind of individual plans or anything like that. But you know, I think for me the first thing is just find something you enjoy, you know, and start there. Like, you know, like I said earlier on, I don't really like weights and strength work. I do it just to be able to run better, essentially. But, you know, just start with something you enjoy, and whatever that is, just start there. And what you probably find then is that as you kind of enjoy that more, you start to branch out, and you start to think, oh, I might try that class in the gym, or, you know, maybe I'll have a go at that, or, you know, you kind of naturally learn. And the other thing is there's loads of stuff on the internet. You know, like YouTube have got great kind of tutorial videos, particularly if you're into weights and things like that. A lot of really good YouTube videos will show you how to properly lift and how to make sure you're doing it, you've good form, so you're not kind of injuring yourself. Same with running. There's some great websites out there that help you kind of put together a kind of plan, a kind of running plan and things like that. What do you think, Paul? What advice would you give?
Well, first of all, I'd say to anyone who's thinking and they haven't exercised for a long time is to go and speak to GP. One of the things, another thing as well about running, you said, one of the mistakes I made was not having the correct footwear and not doing enough stretching. And I know I talked to you and I got advice from a couple of different people who are runners, and they said to me, look, you got to get a good pair of trainers. It's vitally important, your footwear. And I bought compression socks because I had problems with my calves, and you know, and what I was told is that basically I was doing too much in too short a space of time, and the step, and so there, and then I, you know, I had to go and see an osteopath for trouble I was having on my back and my shoulders, and he kind of put me right, and he said to me exactly the same as what you said. Form is very important in running and weights and all kind of thing, and if you don't get your form right, so go and speak to a GP before you embark on any exercise, and if you can, I know that people in the leisure centres and gyms, they will give you, if they're not trained, then you, to be honest, I would suggest going to the gym. They'll give you advice on how to use equipment. But someone told me as well, if you can afford it, is to have a couple of sessions with a personal trainer, because they'll make sure your form is correct. One of the mistakes I made as well is possibly lifting. At one point, I was lifting too heavy a weight, and my form was starting. So I've reduced the weights I'm lifting back down to a weight which I can lift comfortably and not use my back, not kind of like sway or anything like that. So that means then you just, you know, I think it's, and as you say, going back to the YouTube thing, I found videos on stretching, for instance. Very important stretching says your therapists on YouTube, they are qualified physiotherapists and talk about how to stretch properly and how to do certain, and there's guys, there's gym people, athletes. I follow two guys, Athlete X and Transfer. There's a guy, I can't remember the name, but they give you advice, and it's all backed up by science as well. And it, you know, and the thing is, Beth, as well, all this is changing. You know, the things when I was starting going to gyms years back in the 80s, or the late 80s, early 90s, they kind of, all that kind of stuff has changed. Now, it's a very different, you know, there's different, we're on the discussion, remember, I said different muscle types, twitch muscles, and how people, and the training you may find with some people doesn't work for other people. So there's, you know, there's things like that. But my first protocol, get yourself checked up with a GP, and if you can, make sure, you know, you feel, and of course, do something you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, you're going to repeat it, and it's become a habit, a really kind of like positive habit.
So thank you for joining us for this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching us have this conversation. We're going to do a fair few Q&As amongst the practitioner team coming up. Me and Max are going to film one on psychology soon, just to answer some sort of frequently asked questions. I think Paul is planning one on counselling, so asking questions about kind of counselling and how to access different types of counselling and things like that. We've got a mindfulness one planned. So do keep your eyes peeled on our social media and our YouTube channel. If you're not following us on social media, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. All of the usernames are Valley Steps. So just have a look, give us a like and a follow, and keep in touch with us. So thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.